Joe Davis, Fred Davis, me. Davis is the most successful surname in snooker. But if you look at billiards, there's no doubt who the greatest name belongs to. The incomparable Walter Lindrum. The greatest because Walter still holds the world record break of 4,137, 71 years after it was made. It required about 1,900 consecutive scoring shots, and Lindrum was possibly the best cueist the world has ever seen.
From the day he was born in 1898 in Kalgoorlie, the gold mining capital of Western Australia, Walter Lindrum's life was immersed in the sport of billiards. It was here in the Palace Hotel that Australian champion, Walter's father, Fred II, leased a billiards room.
Well, the Lindrum family, there were 5 champions, and I think it must have been, you know, born in them. So, and of course his father taught him and made him practice 8 hours a day. He had a very strict father, and so he always wanted him to be world champion, which he turned out to be. Yes.
When Dolly Lindrum's mother died, giving birth to her, Walter took in his infant niece and raised her as his own. For many years, she repaid that debt to her uncle by keeping his memory alive.
Around this way, a photo of his mother and himself, a photo of taking the number 10 Downing Street with Ramsay MacDonald as Prime Minister, a photo of the royals in Duke of Windsor then and King George and Queen Mary.
He may have passed away in 1960, but thanks to Dolly, things remained the same in the Flinders Lane Billiards Saloon in Melbourne, which Walter ran after he retired from competition. Right-handed Walter was taught to play left-handed by his father after the top of his index finger was amputated following an accident with a washing mangle when he was 3 years old.
The fact that it made him virtually ambidextrous only added to his invincibility. Remind you of anyone? English billiards, to give it its true title, has 3 basic scoring shots. The cannon, where the cue ball hits the other 2 balls on the table. The winning hazard, where you actually pot a ball. And the losing hazard, where your cue ball goes in off one of the other 2 balls on the table. Got that? Good. Now, snooker is a game of frames. There are none in billiards, so how did they decide how long a match would last?
Billiard matches were over a 2-week period, generally speaking. They would play two sessions per day, each session lasting 2 hours. So they could go on for a fortnight, would be no result until the end of that fortnight. So unlike today, where you'd go to the Crucible and expect to see a match completed within 1 day or whatever, then in those days you had to wait a fortnight to get a result.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to play 1 or 2 shots for you at billiards.
By 1929, Lindrum had honed his skills to perfection. In particular, the revolutionary nursery cannon, which would later lead to a series of rule changes and the inevitable demise of the game as a spectator sport. That year, leading English professional Willie Smith was invited to Australia to play a series of exhibitions that captured the imagination of the nation. Encouraged by the positive publicity, Walter set sail for England, a country he'd studiously avoided for fears that the damp climate would set off his bronchitis. His play in England over the next 4 seasons, however, was red hot. He made 65 1,000-plus breaks on his 1930-31 tour, more than any other player has achieved in a career. In the Gold Cup, he gave his 3 great rivals, Tom Newman, Clark McConaughey and Joe Davis, a head start, spotting them 7,000 points each. He still won the final thanks to 2 breaks of 2,000. When you consider that the other 3 players only made 4 breaks of 2,000 in their lives, you get the picture.
Walter Lindrum, of course, came from Australia in 1929 with a wonderful reputation, and not only was it a reputation, it was a performance that was almost unbelievable. Well, I had to suffer some of this because he made his highest break of 4,137. That's a billiards break, if you please, and he made that against me. I sat there watching this for, well, 3 sessions. I never was able to take a shot. There he was, going on and on and on and on.
That world record break in 1932 against Davis was exceptional. To this day, no one else has scored over 3,000 in one break. Cricket legend Donald Bradman regularly attended Thurston's when he was on tour. The whole of sport and society was in Lindrum's thrall.
Went to Buckingham Palace, and King George told him that the moment he enters the palace, he turns on his radio to listen to Walter scores in England. He said, "You were killing all our men," as King George apparently was a very keen billiards player, you know, so he had Walter there for 2.5 hours.
That immortal Gold Cup win cemented his superiority over the others. It was inevitable that he participated in the World Championship, and he defeated defending champion Joe Davis in 1933. Walter argued successfully that he should be allowed to defend it back home in Australia.
And then Joe went out to Australia to try and win it back again. But it didn't work out for Joe again. Walter won. The time and the money Joe spent while he was out there virtually made him penniless, and he had to struggle to get back home again. Walter then kept the trophy in Australia till about the 1950s, and it was on the basis of, if you want it, come and get it, but nobody really could afford to go out there and compete. So in the end, the Billiards Association had the trophy returned, and Walter relinquished the trophy in the 1950s.
With little to prove, Lindrum devoted himself to exhibition matches. Over his lifetime, he raised more than £2 million for charity. Despite the decline in the public's interest in billiards, thanks in part to the non-defence of the world title and his minute nursery cannons, Lindrum's own popularity never faltered. Then, 4 years after his marriage to his third wife, Walter died of ptomaine poisoning after eating a bad steak and kidney pie. He was 61.
His grave is up at the Melbourne General Cemetery. People visit it every Sunday. They have tours. They say it's the most popular grave, you know. People that photograph it. It's designed as a billiard table. Beautiful grave, black marble.
Walter was so good at the game of billiards that his decision not to defend the world title effectively killed it off. Why contest a trophy if the great Lindrum wasn't playing? The public and the press lost interest, and the title lay uncontested for 17 years. Like his great friend Donald Bradman, Lindrum was able to accumulate scores never seen before or since. When it comes to billiards, you can definitely say, without any fear of contradiction, that Walter Lindrum was, and always will be, the greatest.